Hey guys, in this video I will be showing you two different ways you can paint a leaf using watercolors. One is more detailed and one is more simple and takes less time. And I actually only used 3 colors in total for both paintings. You don't need to use the exact same ones, but use something similar and you're good to go. So for the more detailed leaf, I gradually built up some layers because you don't want the lighter areas to be too dark. So I just made thin layers mixing the two green colors together, and then I added a bit yellow wherever I noticed some yellow tones in my reference photo. It's easier to use a reference photo for this leaf, but for the more simple leaf you don't need a reference photo in my opinion. So after the first layer had dried a little bit, it doesn't need to dry completely, but a little bit at least, it's easier to work that way. You don't want it to be super wet at least. So then you can add another layer, and I'm actually painting only one side of the leaf. At first I just find it easier to focus on one side first, and once you feel like you have added all of the light tones that there is, if you look at the reference photo you see all the light areas, and then you can add the darker tones. So yeah, using less water, more paint. And again, you want the previous layer to have dried a bit before you go on to the next layer. And by the way, this paper, it is a watercolor paper, but it crumbled up a lot, so that was weird. But yeah, another tip is to not let the paint dry too quickly. As you can see, it wasn't like the dark area that I did at first. It has kind of sharp edges that I didn't manage to blend out very well, so you want to work pretty quick before the paint dries. However, a tip to create soft edges and blend with watercolors is to dip your brush in clean water, and then you wipe it off on a paper towel, and then the brush is a bit dry, so then you can use the brush on the area you want to blend out, so it kind of picks up the color, because since the brush is dry, it picks up the wet paint on the paper, if that makes any sense. I'm not the best at explaining, but yeah. So basically all I'm doing here is just adding darker color, darker shadows wherever I notice in my reference photo that there are darker shadows. And after adding the first dark layers, you can just add another one wherever you feel like you need to add more darkness. It sounds so weird to say add more darkness, like it sounds very like deep and dark. And then I added some yellow to the outer part again, just because in my reference photo there were some yellow parts, but actually, like, after following Bob Ross tutorials, I realized that adding yellow to green is actually like really nice to add highlights to green. Like, instead of using white, you add yellow. It gives the green plants more life, because Bob Ross, he adds yellow to like the bushes and the happy little trees and all of that stuff. So yeah, and this yellow color was kind of what's the word, like it wasn't so transparent, so it actually worked very well at, you know, it didn't blend together with the green so much. Like it really well, I can't explain, but I hope you know what I mean. And for the stem of the leaf, I also just added the yellow one. This yellow one was a little bit greenish to begin with, but if you're using a yellow color that isn't so green, then you can just add a little bit of green to it. And then I am basically just doing the exact same thing on the other side of the leaf. And at the end, I like to use a thinner brush to add some more final details, maybe some shadows or highlights, you know, things that are more precise, more detailed. So for the next leaf, you want to work a lot quicker, and I'm gonna try my best to explain to you what you need to do on the correct video frame. But yeah, you can always rewind and rewatch this part of the video if you want to try this yourself. So what I'm doing here is I'm kind of using the wet on wet technique. The difference is that I did not add just plain water as a base, but I am adding kind of a thin layer of paint, but slightly more water than for the previous leaf. And also when I add more color, like a darker color or a yellow color, I don't wait for the first layer to dry. I work very quickly because I don't want anything to dry. I want everything to be like in the same layer, but still not, because as you can see here, I made sure to wherever it was a little bit darker in the reference photo, I added more paint, and I added the paint to that part first, and then I just continued adding more water and just smudging that out for the rest of the leaf. And then I added, as you can see, it's a little bit darker here, so I added more paint but still a lot of water, because you want everything to kind of float out. So yeah, difference from the previous, yeah, I'm kind of repeating myself, but I don't let the previous layer dry. And also I'm keeping the stems of the leaf white. Yeah, so it's not as detailed, it's more floaty, as I would call it, because the water kind of floats out, and it doesn't need to be perfect. It was very fun to try this technique because it's very different from what I usually do, because usually I make very detailed portraits or paintings, but I've always been wanting to be able to make nice paintings or drawings that are, you know, more simple like this, but I never thought that I could do that. But yeah, I'm really happy with the outcome of this, so I can do that. Believe in yourself, guys. And then you quickly want to move on to the other side of the leaf before anything dries, so you don't get a sharp line. But of course, you don't need to paint one side of the leaf at a time like I did. I just did that because I felt more comfortable doing that. It felt like it was more easy for me. But again, I am using the exact same principle on this side, so working with a lot of water but still adding more paint wherever I want it to be darker and not letting anything dry, working very quickly. One thing I really like about this technique is that I didn't feel pressure to make it look perfect. All I needed to do really was to make sure that the paint didn't dry before I was finished with the painting. But otherwise I just added some paint here and there, and yeah, it was very difficult to make it look ugly. I think it came out nice, and I think, yeah, it's easy to have a nice outcome while using this technique. And of course you don't need to use this when painting a leaf only. You can of course use it if you're painting a flower or maybe a fruit or even an animal, I would say. I really think you should try this if you haven't already, because it's really fun and it doesn't take a lot of time to make a nice painting. Am I conceited because I say that I like my paintings? No, I'm not. You should be proud of your paintings, okay? Believe in yourself, and yeah. This is the finished result. Very simple and very fun to make. So if you enjoyed watching this video, then give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more art videos. And also let me know in the comments which leaf you like the most, because I can't decide. I like them both. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.